Hi Spartans! Nice job on making sure there are buzzwords included in each of your paragraphs. At this point, you should have confirmed and highlighted that there are at least 4 buzzwords in each of your paragraphs in your essay. If you have not done this yet, go and pause the video here, go back and make sure you highlight the buzzwords, then come back to this video when you're ready. In this video, we're going to be talking about concluding sentences. These are how you end the paragraphs. As we've been talking about today, our goal is to work on your analysis, and concluding sentences really drive home your analysis. Here's the point of concluding sentences. Here's what they do. They often summarize the paragraph. They retell what the paragraph is about. They answer so what. The point of a concluding sentence is to really drive home the purpose of the paragraph. You're going to tell the reader pretty directly what was the point of that entire paragraph. Strong concluding sentences in literary analysis also make connections to the universal message or idea or theme in your thesis statement. Remember, the point of a literary analysis essay is to prove a theme or prove a thesis. Therefore, your concluding sentence really needs to drive home that thesis. Concluding sentences will also sometimes transition to the next paragraph. Let's look at an example from the model essay we looked at about Persepolis. I'm going to read out loud the first 2 paragraphs, and when we reach the end of the second paragraph, I want you to think, what is good about the concluding sentence? All over the world, women are disenfranchised because of their gender. Many authors have taken on the ideas of sexism and gender discrimination in their text as a way of addressing gender-based oppression. One author who has done this is Marjane Satrapi in her graphic novel Persepolis. Persepolis tells of a young girl named Margie living in Iran following the Cultural Revolution of 1980, and the story depicts the consequences of the government mandates of the revolution. Satrapi addresses the role that gender played in the Cultural Revolution throughout the text. In Marjane Satrapi's graphic novel Persepolis, the author reveals that gender roles bias the government's policies regarding women's rights, as shown through the author's characterization of Margie, use of restrictive language with the veil, and the contrast of dark and light images in the illustrations. Ooh, wait, I need to stop here. I'm noticing here's the thesis statement, so I need to see what buzzwords there are, because I know buzzwords come up to help my analysis. So I'm noticing that this is all about gender roles. It seems like the stereotypes this person's talking about is all about gender roles. And specifically, those gender roles are shown through characterization, restrictive language with the veil specifically, and contrast in the illustrations. So I'm really looking for how the gender roles show up in these 3 things and how they relate to government policies. That's the effect. The gender roles really restrict women in the government. Okay. And now I'm looking to the body paragraph, and I'm trying to think, what makes the concluding sentence strong at the end of this body paragraph? The author's characterization of Margie shows that women were restricted by government policies following the Iranian Revolution, despite their personal ambitions. The graphic novel starts with Margie reflecting on the state of her school following the revolution. The first panels show Margie and the other girls in her class. Margie narrates, "You don't see me." Instead, the reader sees 4 indistinguishable girls covered with mouths that are either drooped down or straight-faced. From the onset of the story, girls are juxtaposed with images of sameness and forced conformity. The protagonist is even so indistinguishable that she is hidden from view in the second panel. Satrapi does this to illustrate the way Margie looks does not matter. Instead, the illustration emphasizes that since each of the girls is covered, they have lost any individual characteristics. Contrastingly, later in the story, Margie explained that she wants to be a prophet regardless of the restrictions that have been placed on her by the Iranian society. She states, "No, I'll be a prophet, but they mustn't know. I want it to be justice, love, and the wrath of God all in one." Margie feels compelled to keep it hidden that she wants to be a prophet. Although in the beginning of the text, she is characterized as being the same as others, it is revealed later that she has hidden desires to be as large as being the mouth of God. By waiting to reveal this until the end of the excerpt, Satrapi Strapi emphasizes Margie was still determined to live out her personal ambitions, but the Iranian government restricted her opportunity to pursue them. Margie's character represents the narrative that many women in Iran faced following the revolution, being unable to pursue what they wanted individually because of government limitations. I'm going to pause here. I'm noticing that the concluding sentence is right here. I'm going to highlight that in green. I'll read it one more time. Margie's character represents the narrative that many women in Iran faced following the revolution, being unable to pursue what they wanted individually because of government limitations. Here's what makes this concluding sentence strong. It first highlights the literary device. As you saw in the thesis, a lot of this essay is about characterization. So I'm using the buzzword again, Margie's character. And then I tell what it represents. This is answering the so what. Why did I include Margie's character? Here's why. Because Margie's character represents what happens to many women in Iran following the revolution. They were unable to pursue what they wanted. This is the part that connects to the universal idea. Women are often limited to pursue what they want because they are women. This second half uses a ton of buzzwords from my thesis. It talks about women, it talks about the government, it talks about being limited. That's what makes this a strong concluding sentence. It really drives home the analysis. Now your job is to go into your essay and think through how could you add concluding sentences. Your next step is to add a concluding sentence to each paragraph in your essay. You're going to highlight these in green. Strong concluding sentences will include the following things. Buzzwords from your thesis, just like you worked on earlier in class. And here are two ways that you could write a concluding sentence to really drive home your analysis. You could insert the literary device, like you saw in the example about Margie. Represents something with the universal idea that you've talked about in the thesis, that big theme that you stated. For me, it was all about how women are limited in the government due to the different gender biases. You could also say, ultimately, your literary device illuminates a universal idea. You have the rest of today's time to add a concluding sentence to each paragraph using these structures, and then highlight those in green. At the end of our work time, a partner will check your work.